the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Talk to a Living podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Wilton, joined by Sergeant Wilton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for putting away the groceries just now.
Of course.
One of the biggest time savers and the thing that is like a non-negotiable for us now is getting our groceries delivered, period. End of story.
Oh, yeah.
Not only do we save like 2 hours by doing it, but also we don't go through the market and grab a bunch of junk that we don't need. We're very strategic in what we get, and I love it.
I don't get a cookie cake that I don't need, and I'll eat like 2 pieces out of.
I just saw a video though of a girl that works at Walmart, and she said that their store already put out their Christmas decorations, and she was showing these candlestick holders that are made out of glass, like long, like for the tall candlesticks. And there's a red bow on a white clear candlestick holder, and the red bow is like this huge pop of color on it. Like, long story short, I think we need to go to Walmart. So we have a friend who, I hate when this happens because I've actually gone through it myself, but she has worked for her place of work for many, many years. And when I say she has devoted her life to it, I'm not just saying in the sense of like we do everything that we can to show up and be all that we can be for the place of work. She has literally given her spirit and her soul to her place of work. And they basically backstabbed her. And a lot of times we think about the notion that they tell us, like, you're family and we would never let anything happen to you. And, you know, everything's all good and dandy until one day it's not. And so that's basically what she's going through. And her situation is quite a bit unique, and due to the sensitivity of it, I can't share it all. But my suggestion to her was use some of that time that you're there to be able to get some of your time that they've stolen from you back. And so what I'm sharing that for is because there are some instances where I don't think that this is okay to do. I myself have partaken in that, right? Claiming some of my time back by somebody who has stolen it from me. And so it's a little bit different when somebody is quiet quitting in uniform. And I think it could be dangerous. And I wanted to talk about that today.
With having that, especially in the first responder realm and dealing with administration shifts where at one point you can be, you know, their go-to employee, the rock star for them until you have a promotional list that changes things. You have an administration that changes to where you start becoming, oh, well, you were the old regime and we don't want the old regime involved with this stuff anymore. And I think no matter what your workplace is, you're going to have those experiences. You're going to have those changes. It's being able to adapt to it and not devoting and identifying so much as who you are as an employee compared to who you are as an individual person.
So what we saw happen, especially during George Floyd, is disengagement creeping in. And I think it's important to talk about how dangerous it is, not only to the individual, but to your entire team, to the community. And most importantly, I feel like it does a lot to kind of damper your sense of purpose. And this created so much burnout. This isn't just an exclusive situation where it happens. I see this time and time again where somebody might be contemplating whether or not they should still be in law enforcement. And, you know, we've talked about that before. But I think that it's important for us to know what quiet quitting looks like in uniform, not only for ourselves, but also, and probably most importantly, so that we could identify it if it's happening to somebody else that we're working with. And the first is that they're basically doing the bare minimum. Now, there are some people that, a lot of younger people, I would say, that they literally are conditioned to just show up and do the bare minimum. It's not like us, right? Where we were raised so differently, especially I'm just thinking about myself growing up in a home with 5 brothers and, you know, getting home from school, doing my homework, helping unload firewood or digging a trench or like whatever we had to do. I was involved in all of that. But when you see somebody at work and they're doing the bare minimum that's required and they no longer start to go above and beyond when they used to, or maybe you have somebody who's avoiding calls or certain tasks or opportunities that they might be able to grow in, perhaps they are qualified to get a special detail or to get a promotion. And instead of even trying, they're just not. And a lot of the times they might just be emotionally attached from the team or from the mission or from the public or even you when you used to be friends.
And I think it's a generational thing too, and I've recognized that, especially within my own department, as like, I see some of these younger officers come up where you don't see that drive. You don't see that initiative of people wanting to have the driver initiative.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to have these conversations because there is a big dissonance when it comes to the older and the younger generation of law enforcement. And so I think too that more FTOs need to heed to the advice of understanding that difference. And my brother was involved in ATC and his comment was like, there was a rookie training a rookie, and what happened to him absolutely shouldn't have happened, and it only happened because a rookie was training a rookie. And it's very important to kind of call this out and then identify it, even if you might not think that it's something that you should be involved in.
Being able to call that out takes a whole different type of initiative, right? And I think it's a struggle. It's being able to retrain people's way of thinking and how to address those issues.
I think a lot of people too, they have this chronic burnout from years of exposure to trauma and stress. And, we talked about the whole retirement becoming this time clock that people, they're held hostage to in a past episode. And that's absolutely true when we see people that are having this quiet quit mindset.
Yeah, because you're not pushing out that initiative anymore. And it's, you want to look at who you're actually working for, not just your administration, not just for your partners, but for the public who for the most part, support law enforcement, support first responders.
Something else that I always recommend to officers that are struggling with something like this is to decide if you're feeling undervalued and unsupported or even betrayed by your leadership. Remember when we were growing up, like tanning salons used to be in every single shopping complex. Then it was like Starbucks and they closed a bunch of Starbucks. And of course we have McDonald's, but right now it's like car washes. Car washes are everywhere. Well, police departments are literally everywhere and they're begging for people like you, people who can show up and show their value and be valued. And so it's like run of the mill, basically. And if that means that you need to drive a little further or move or relocate to a different state even, your health and your happiness is so much more important. And it doesn't always have to be that extreme if you find yourself or somebody else quiet quitting in their job. Sometimes there might need to be something that changes about your confidence even.
Yeah, building your confidence and having that, it's making that hard decision to be able to affect that change is not always easy, but to have a support system to build that bridge to be able to make that change is super important.
Yeah, and in the example of the friend that I gave in the beginning where, she's basically topping out and then kind of reclaiming some of her own time, that's quite a bit different than working in uniform where you have this sort of increased risk of safety. And when focus and alertness start to fade, then your disengagement actually spreads not only to you, but also you're increasing the risk of the people that you work with too.
Yeah, being able to not have that safety mindset is because you're not willing, you get complacent. You get complacent in that situation.
Yeah. And if you're actually planning on quitting, I do want to say, like, I'm a full proponent of strategic and smart ways of quiet quitting and taking back ownership of some of your time. But that doesn't mean that you are not still held responsible to do the job that you're supposed to do. And if you're doing the bare minimum, that's okay. But if you're doing the bare minimum, but your mind is not engaged in it and you're being frivolous with the day-to-day activities that could literally cost you your life, then there's a problem there.
Yeah, you need to, safety should always be the primary concern that you're looking after and not being complacent while doing your job. And I'm a full believer, if I'm at work, like, I'm going to give my all no matter what I'm doing.
And I think too, something else that highly improves feeling this way, like you're disengaged at work, is to build yourself a life outside of the badge, outside of the uniform. Have other things that make you happy. And and sometimes that might even mean getting rid of some things in your personal life that don't make you happy. Maybe you shouldn't be with the person that you're married to. Maybe you shouldn't live in the community that you live in because your neighborhood always has like people playing mariachi music. Like that happened to us last night. And whatever it is, like change your situation, but you have to identify what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to identify that is that first step to be able to start affecting that change.
Yeah, totally. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below. And as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.